No matter how fast I try to do the share feature in Meta, it never works.
I absolutely love that. So
I
I don't even know. So I'm going to ask you. So I use the same platform. I've never. Are you doing like just a share video on Wave? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
playback
I'm doing a
intro?
share video, and now I have to go in and manually through Facebook, because the group settings changed for live streams. Share it into the LoudEgg group, because I have a LoudEgg page, and then I share it
Right.
over. So now it'll be in the group. The LoudEgg page only has like 200 or so people in the group, so it's not that
Slackers.
big. Yeah, a bunch of
Slackers.
slackers. So, but we're here.
Uh,
All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Welcome to the first ever PR SEO show, joined by the news guy, Randy Rohde, and the SEO dude, Brian Winum. What's up, guys?
I like that. I like how you did that. Like Craig Campbell pronounces my name, Randy Rohde.
Yeah,
It's
what's
Rohde.
funny? It's
Rohde.
Rohde. I always call you Randy Rohde. I'm always like Randy Rohde, but I was like, this time let me do Rohde. Rohde. I think Randy Rohde, it sounds like it's like a wrestler name. Randy Rohde. Randy Rhodes.
I think there was no. It wasn't Randy Rohde. It was Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Was the wrestler. Man, that's years. That's years ago, decades. Yeah. And then I always get mixed as well, or lopped in with I think he was with Black Sabbath, the
Randy
guitar
Rhoads, right?
player, Randy Rhodes, the guitar player. That's what people always, I probably at least 10 times a year, someone goes, "Hey, you're like the guitar player, Randy Rhodes, right?" I'm like, yeah, you bet.
Do you play guitar? Do you play guitar?
I do, but not anywhere near that caliber. I
Not
play,
on
play
that
like
level.
camp songs out when I'm, camping with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I can play the radio. That's it.
You play the radio?
Right.
That's
Not
it,
the
Brian?
radio. Yeah, no musical bones in my body, even though my mother's actually a music teacher. I didn't get it.
You did get it?
No.
I was an all-state tenor in high school, but I have one big problem: stage fright. Maybe if they did it through like a Google Meet or a live stream, I'd be better at it, but not with people. Not with people in front of me. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So
Wow.
yeah, guys, thanks today for accepting my invite. Well, Brian, I didn't have to twist his arm. I mean, he sits next to me. The office, though, he did add a plant in between our cubicles now, so he doesn't have to look at me all day. But I still bother him and ask him a lot of questions. So what I decided was, let me get him on as many webinars as possible, and then I can ask him questions or have my friends ask him questions through the chat.
Yeah, Joe's handing out a list of questions for them to ask me.
I got questions. I got a lot of stuff.
But just to give you a little background yesterday, Randy, we're sitting in the office. Joe's sitting next to me, and I see him. He's the host, so he's doing a lot of work in the background, prepping for this. Doing all his background work, and I see him trying to brand this as the PR SEO freak off, like he's Joe Diddy or something. I kind of pumped the brakes on that one a little bit, but
no, we're gonna do like a mastermind mansion, but it'll just be a freak off party. Yeah,
Freak out.
Oh, YouTube's already gonna ban this video,
right?
Like,
Let me just tell you, as a person who's attended a few of those mastermind mansions, they do get a little freaky. All right.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, I gotta say, you guys, for people that don't know, Randy and Brian speak at a lot of SEO conferences, masterminds, all these things. The underworld of the SEO and public relations. So lucky enough to have both of you on this way. If anyone has questions in the chat, just ask away. But I wanted to know, I mean, I know more about Brian, obviously, because, I bug him all day at work. Randy, how did you go about getting started in PR and SEO? Like, how did that start? Did you always want to go in that direction, or did it just kind of randomly pivoted when you were younger?
Good question. Am I freezing up on you guys, or
A little
am I
bit,
good?
a
I don't
little.
know
Maybe you have too
why.
many tabs open.
I don't, and plus I've got just a screaming laptop, and it drives me nuts with this, and I can't quite ever figure out why. I am going to go and see if I can change my
Your
image.
audio sounds great, though. So.
Yep.
The audio sounds great. Well, thank you. That's shoot. I don't know why that's I know I cannot figure out, and I've got like hardwired into, so I've got an ether cable going directly into this thing, and I should be doing like 300 bits a second.
Now
So
you're going. The video's going better, I think.
yeah, I have no idea. All right, so let me talk.
But we'll fix it in AI
Um,
after. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Um, yeah, so I was doing a podcast yesterday, and I kind of relived this whole history line as well. So way back, back 2007, 2008, I had a whole different company. I was doing some education services, and I needed a new website for a new division that we were doing, and with that, then I was thinking, boy, I really want to understand online advertising and all of that. And so, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to like dig in. I'm always curious, and so I thought, well, let me kind of try to do this. This seems really interesting, and so. Way back then is when I will say I officially kind of dove into web and by the way, that website was atrocious, but it worked for the day.
It worked. It got the job done.
Yeah, and I started doing, paid campaigns then, and got my feet wet with that, and started really though digging into SEO, and then with that, then just continued to expand what I was doing for my particular company at that time. Going forward, years later, I sold that company. I decided though that I still wanted to do this SEO thing was still kind of fun, and so at that point, this was in 16. I decided like I'm going full bore into this SEO and agency thing. And so I launched an agency and walked in with a handful of clients because I was doing some stuff, and so it was good. And then in 2017, I was just thinking, I'm a big believer. I think you should always have multiple silos of business, right? Not just put everything. Put all your eggs, right? Try to get the LoudEgg. Put all your eggs in
Nice
one
plug.
basket.
Nice plug.
Yeah, nice plug there.
Thanks, news guy.
Yeah. And so I just started thinking about, well, what could we do? What could I do as another side services that would be um, supplemental and supportive with SEO and what we're doing. And so I don't know, it took me a couple of months, but I landed on press releases really seem like it helps support and drives SEO. It's a side business of the service that we could do for other agencies, other SEO guys as well. And so I started doing that in 17. We kind of went all in and with the newsroom, kind of dug into that, launched that in 2018, and then just kind of went from there. And then built a team around, now we've got a full team of writers and editors. We've got my publishers and so now we're just going all in.
I think I met you through Chris Walker's years ago. That might have been maybe almost 10 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
Where we were in that group, which was great to share ideas. I think I remember you already brainstorming the whole PR end of it and seeing what you can do.
That was very much then. It was like, hey, let me think about this stuff. Yeah. And I remember that. I can't remember. Was it Well, I think he had that thing like Superstar University or SEO
Yeah, the
University
Superstar
or something like that.
University. It was good. He
Yeah,
had a couple guys in there that were
yeah,
really
yeah,
good. They're still
yeah,
around doing stuff, and
yeah. They
then
are. Yeah,
plus learning how to use certain services. Is that
right.
kind of where you maybe got an idea more of like, hey, I could start doing this,
Well, I
you
was,
know?
and so Chris and I even kind of kicked the memory, can around when we were at Legit Live this last weekend. We can talk about that in a bit as
Yeah,
well, but. Um, because Chris launched Legit of February of 2018. And I think I put on a service there. Like I was one of his first
first.
50 sellers on there. I think he launched, I think on February 4th, and I put a service on there in February 14. And we were always laughing. And Chris is like, yeah, you should have been taking your wife out to somewhere. Instead, you're putting up services on Legit. But yeah.
You get a lot of work through Legit and through your
Uh,
website, both.
so this is kind of funny as well. And I told Chris this as well this weekend was Legit is the only platform that we sell any services on. And we sell just a couple of different services there. I don't, if you go to our site, thenewsguy.com, we've got all different kinds of services that we provide and links and such. But we do just a small number there on Legit, and it is the only platform. There's, you can count them all on your hands of all of the different ones. And I've been approached by several of them, like, "Hey, would you come over? We'd really love to have your service." And I'm like, "Eh." Um, I don't only because I am a loyal guy. And I'm like, I really Chris has been great to me. He's been a good friend, and I really just want to support Chris. And and if I can give him some exclusivity, so to speak, by that, which is great. And as well, Chris is one of the few, I think probably the only, that was always encouraging build your brand, go build your own stuff, build your own site. They can work in tandem, and building your brand will help sales on Legit, building your brand and your connectivity with people that do business with you will help you solidify your own platform, sales platform on your own site. So, yeah, yeah. So we do well on Legit.
Legit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, Brian,
yeah.
what about your story? Your boring origin story. It's like X-Men Wolverine. I've heard this story so many times, but it still fascinates me. I'm kidding.
No, nothing that crazy. I actually got I was always had interest in computers, going back to, my first Commodore VIC-20 back in like the early 80s, doing programming on that, in BASIC, and had gone to college for computer science when it was called computer science back then. But started out in the kind of the world of business in insurance. Went to work for Geico right out of college, and eventually worked my way up to owning
Did
my
you
own
work
agency.
for the Gecko itself? Did you report to
He was
him or
there
what?
all the time. Some guy
He
in a
was
costume
there. He
handing
was
out
there
bonus
back
checks.
then.
Yeah.
He looks good. He looks good for his age.
Yeah, right.
He was still there. But so I started working out there, and it actually went private. It was a public company at that point. It was actually bought out, became private, and I decided to leave at that point. Kind of took my money and ran from all my employee benefits and everything, and was in the insurance agency for years until I had sold my agency, maybe in my mid-30s, had a no-compete clause, couldn't do that anymore, had to figure out something else to do. Went to work with some friends who were doing online directories at the time. So I helped them build up that business, doing some business development for them. Ended up running into my my current partners back in the late 2000s. They were looking for business development help at the time. And it just kind of fell into it. We became a full-time partner with them and been there for going on 15 years with them at this point. So And then we got Joe tagging along.
And then you brought me in, and then you brought me in, and then things really started to.
It's not going to go another 15 years.
Yeah.
But even when I was doing the insurance thing, for my own agency, I was always doing my own marketing, building my own websites and things like that. So I always had an interest in it, and it was just kind of a natural transition for me.
Yeah. I do think there's that commonality. I've talked with so many guys in the SEO world, digital space. There is a commonality, I think, of guys, and I say that like non-gender specific, right? So not to insult any women in the industry, please. But people, all right, I'll try to. I'm a boomer. The peoples, right?
Don't worry. This is a safe space.
Okay, thank you. So the peoples that I know in this space, a common trait or a character is they're just always curious, and they're always like, how does this work? And like trying to get into it. It's just this always strong curiosity, I think.
That's how you learn.
To learn, and
yeah.
So I think anybody that's like interested in the industry, you always kind of think, are you curious? Is that a character trait that you have? Do you really want to like get in and figure out how does that work? What's going on there?
Well, that's Brian. I overanalyze. I really, really want to know how it works. Like even Randy, when I send you a press release job, I'll be like, how do you do that? Like what are you doing there? And you're like, Joe, just let me take care of it. I'm the pro. I'm like, all right, you got it, boss. You got it. Oh, we lost Brian. He already quit. He already quit.
That was good. I guess he wasn't curious enough with.
Yeah. But the PR stuff I was going to ask you about. I mean, is it really that, for people that don't know, a really important factor in SEO? You feel like it's always needed, and obviously it's your business, but some other people will be like, oh, you could just do the organic, you could just do the paid ads, you can. How does that work for like newbies out there that want to learn more about PR, doing it through your service, doing it themselves, a strategy?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's critical right now, especially and let me look at something real quick. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. And as an
share
example,
your site if you want. Oh, you want to share? That's your website.
So, so can I? I'm going to share my.
You can share your screen, of course.
So I, did so as a because I was going down to Legit Live. I was speaking there. I got all this stuff on my. What the heck?
Jason joined us. He's also from MaxBurst.
Yeah. Hey, Jason. Oh,
he's a big Shopify guy. We got to get him on.
All right. Week. Yeah. There we go. So, I did a press release that I was going to be at, and this was the press release, reveal storytelling strategies, right? This was my deal. What I was going to talk about. Here's Yahoo Finance picked this up. And I share this because, so with your question, like, are press releases important in SEO? And I would say yes. And I would say yes, specifically as AI generative search is taking over and essentially becomes the dominant placeholder in search. And as you, are building your brand and you're trying to position your brand, all of a sudden, all of this other stuff is popping up. But if your brand can be strong, then you can begin to occupy space on the first page in the search engines. And that's essentially what it is that you're wanting to do, right? So this is, obviously I've plugged in on this search a bunch of, my own, or words from that article. But if I come in, here, now if I just do the news guy, and I'm trying to compete the term news guy with every anchor person, newscaster, the legends of news reporting. I'm like, what am I'm not right. This is not me. But by golly, bam, here's my press podcast, right? That's showing up right on the top. And then I wanted to see, I wanted to see if I could pull up. Now, if I go Randy, the news guy, I was trying to pull up. So here's my brand. The other day when I was doing this, and I was doing this at the Legit Live conference, now I can't remember how I pulled it up, but a press release that I had put out. Maybe I did it at Randy, the news guy, at Legit Live. Maybe I did it that way. But it brought up the AI search snippet, and it was my brand, right? And it was quoting me, and with the PR that we had put out for that. And I just think the more that you can utilize press releases to maximize your brand, your digital footprint with your brand and information, the more that you're going to have a place on the first page and potentially have a slot or a voice in the AI generative search. So aside from all of the other link aspects that you can do, link building and giving authority links to your site, just in the search value alone, I think is critical.
Nice. And Faz is asking, how often should you run PR campaigns?
Well, I think
every day for you.
Yeah, every day. Well, I would say you can pull this down, Joe. I don't know. I was trying to do it myself. I can't figure that out. Well, I would say kind of every day, not every day, but with our own SEO clients in our agency, we do a press release every month. And I think that that's very common and would be a reasonable thing for any small local business, because you're going to do a PR and announce anything that you're going to announce something about your business, right? So you've got a new service, you're expanding services, you're doing services in a new area of your city, you've got a new product, you're recognizing an employee, you're sharing valuable expert information on your website, you've got an update on your website. There's all different kinds of things that you can do. I was just talking with a client yesterday. I always love to do, guys, you can go on to my site and book a 15-minute consult with me at any time. That is one of the things I love doing. I love doing my consults with clients, because then we start talking about what are, potential stories that we can begin to build out for them. And jumping on trending kind of issues. She does, this lady has some skincare products, and we were talking about how they're made and what have you. And it ended up that Fox and several others had done some story on emulsifiers and processed foods and skincare or makeup. And we're like, let's do the story there. Her products have no emulsifier. So like, hey, we can like kind of jump on a trending story and kind of have a little parasite activity off of that. So those are, you can always begin to think about what kind of a story or what kind of an article can we put out. So thinking like once a month is like, yeah, absolutely. And you're just going to get a constant value of it.
And with AI now, you can produce content quicker.
The goal is you just want to dominate as much of a digital space in search engine land with your brand and brand name as possible. So keep putting content out.
Now, for your business, when a client sends you work, do you prefer that they provide the content or that you create it for them or use AI? Is there a preference?
No, you can do whatever if a client, if they write their article, absolutely we can publish that as long as it meets, the criteria that we have.
Criteria,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but if you come to our site and you buy a PR from us, it includes writing. So I have a whole complete writing team that's been with us for years. I've got an editing team as well. So
Oh,
you come in, you buy, you send us your requirements and your thoughts, your anchors, keywords, that kind of thing, some concept for the article. We write it. Few days later, we send you the draft for you to review, edit, and once you approve, then we publish. But so we have our writing team, they write it, they push it off then to our editors who have been with me for years as well, SEO focus, understand what it is that we're trying to achieve with the articles. And
yeah.
I think that one, too, I've been very specific about really trying to have quality content and SEO optimized content. So we're
A
trying to get the
balance.
biggest bang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got a good writing team. They hand it off to the editors who are positioning it to really maximize reach.
Do you feel like the writers do a better job than the AI that
Oh
everyone's
yeah.
using these days?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it does
Yeah. Yeah.
it ranks much better
Well,
than
here's the issue is that, I just believe press releases are nuanced and it's difficult to get that same touch and desired impact by doing I get ready to load up some
as
PR.
yeah. How do
I
yeah,
love it.
he needs some
I
help.
love it. Yeah. But I don't think that I've yet to see how AI. I was just working feverishly with a client right before we jumped on. I would have been on a little bit sooner, but I'm like, listen, I got a podcast. I got 20 minutes. So let's bang this thing. And he had sent me an article that was, I'm like, this looks like it was done in AI. Oh yeah, it was. This is not. And
Yeah.
let me try to help you tweak on it real quick. And it was a good friend of mine, and I wanted to work with him directly rather than send it off. But yeah, it's AI just cannot do. And we were talking. It's like, well, I have this humanizer prompt. I'm like, yeah, well, that's good, but it's not. You know, it's still AI.
Yeah,
It's
it's
still
still
got the
AI.
AI stuff. And
Skynet. Brian, what do you think about AI with SEO? Are we using it? I
Oh,
kind of know the answer, but
yeah, huge proponent. To
oh,
be
don't get
honest,
me wrong as well. I'm a big proponent of AI, and I think, and
yeah,
especially on website content, I think you should and can absolutely use it. I still think you've got to do editing with it, but
of course, yeah,
depending upon, you can like hammer out all kinds of content. I just think with PRs, it requires human element. It requires the human
yeah. A human
focus to
touch.
be able to
Yeah,
get the
and
nuance.
the voice, the brand voice,
Yeah,
have it
yeah,
all click because AI
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
know the
yeah.
person, so you get to
Right,
really know your customer.
right,
Get inside their brand and not
right.
just spam,
Because at the end
spray
of
and
the
pray.
day, we're distributing this out to news agencies. They're making a decision whether they want to put it on their
Yeah,
site or
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah,
And they're going to see like, well, this is AI shit. And they're like going to be judicious about that. And so like, I can't afford to give them a reason not to put the article on their site,
yeah,
because
yeah,
ultimately it's going to hurt me, right, as well as my client. So that's why I'm like, we don't do it for our PRs. Otherwise, oh my God, yeah, AI. Boom.
so I'm a big proponent of kind of trying to mimic what Google's expecting from huge brands, from big sites and things like that. And AI helps me do that quite a bit. Yeah, I teach a course. Joe. With all our client campaigns and things like that, I'm always preaching the authority stacking, the trust hacking, and those type of things. And I'm
Eats.
using AI to do that quite a bit. I'm actually kind of mimicking a lot of the PR stuff that you do as well, Randy, kind of on my own,
Mm,
more in the kind of the PBN vein of things.
hmm.
Like I have a lot of, and like you do too, I have a lot of the older Google News approved websites and things like that. I create niche networks of Google News approved sites. I may have a group of 50 sites, for example, and I will create custom post types for a PR post, putting out a PR that gets syndicated via main WP to all those 50 sites. So it's my own private network, but I'm using it for backlink purposes for the most part. I'm not using it as a kind of a true PR vehicle, but I'm pushing out a PR to get syndicated to this network of 50 sites, or I'm creating an advertorial that talks about a client's brand or the service or a product or something like that, and pushing that out to one of my private networks. So I'm kind of trying to mimic some of the same things that you would see and what you do in real life and PRs, and pushing it out to these big networks and things like that.
Right.
And I'm actually getting great results from doing that. Kind of giving Google what they expect to see on these things. They're getting brand traffic, they're getting social traffic. I'm not just optimizing these just for straight keywords and things like that. I'm giving Google all the other signals that they'd want to see from these from these types of articles and everything else, and it's working really well. I'm just giving Google those trust signals that they expect to see, and it works.
And then it works so well, you decided to do a course, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Is that how that happened? You one day, well, all of us bugging you were like, "Hey, you should put out a course. You should put out a course," and you just didn't want to let the secrets out just yet, right?
It was, yeah. So I started talking about a lot of this stuff, like the Google News approval and the authority stacking, back in probably 2019 is when I first talked about it in public at a private Stephen Kang event, and just shared it with a small group of people. Eventually, started talking about it in private masterminds and things like that. I have a weekly mastermind with a bunch of other guys, and I guess at their prompting and certain other people, like I'll have to give Joe, you a big push for kind of pushing me to do it, and Brad Bennett was another big one for trying to get me out there to do it. But I decided to let's get it out there, let's share it, and kind of open up the curtains and kind of let everyone take a peek behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
How is running a course different than running a business? Is it trickier or?
It seems like a ton more work to me to run this course,
right?
Keep up with things and everything else, and get things going, give people what they need and what they want, and answer questions and everything else. But I love it, and I did it just to kind of open up my world a little bit, to my own personal brand, for speaking engagements and things like that. And it's also opened up opportunities for partnerships and things like that, and getting leads coming into the business to Max Burst and Max Places because of that course, because of what I'm teaching, because of the speaking engagement. So it's worked out really, really well.
That's good.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been to a couple of different conferences Brian has spoke at, and I always wish, like, God, I wish I had more time on my hands. I want to do your course, because what you have presented at the conference, I'm like, that is the bomb right there.
So I was supposed to speak at Legit Live this past weekend with yourself, Randy, and I had to bow out because of some family issues.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was going to talk about, I'll actually share with you guys today.
Nice.
Nuggets.
We're going to get to good stuff.
Just this is
why I did this.
What's really happening. So this is, and you may have seen this recently, where Google is now including the links to the Wayback Machine, to the Internet Archive, and the search results. They used to have
I have not seen that.
Yeah. So now they're including that in certain search results. You'll see a link to the Internet Archive of that particular website. So this is one of the ways that I am actually, kind of what I call trust stacking. I want Google, with the helpful content update and everything that's been happening in the world of all the algorithm updates, I want Google to implicitly trust me and see me as the source of this particular information anytime I'm publishing anything. So I want to be able to timestamp my own content. And that's kind of one of the ways that Google is doing that with that Internet Archive link. They're timestamping it as unique content. So I've been doing that even before this. So I'll kind of show you kind of what I'm doing here in this. So this is one of my articles that I have in here, but I'm going to show you a couple little things that I'm adding to this on the front end and the back end within the schema to really give myself a little more trust in Google's eyes and really timestamp myself, build up my own authorship, build up my credibility, build my trust, and let Google know that, hey, this is unique content. I was the first person to publish this, and just make make it a little easier for Google to kind of connect the dots as to who I am, what I'm promoting, and when I promote it. So within my content, at the end of my content, I'm using the DMCA protection link on here. And this is just a freebie service. I'm just embedding the badge in the footer of every page of my website. But what it does, it creates that DMCA protection certificate, which again is just another sign to Google that, hey, this is unique content. They actually own this particular content. So this is one way I'm protecting myself. I'm also using another little service. Believe it or not, this is a blockchain related service called Score Detect that is actually creating a blockchain timestamp of my content. So it creates a unique blockchain timestamp that can't be changed. It's there forever, showing, hey, I was the person that published this initially. This is my content. I'm the author. I own it. Completely unique content. And anytime I'm going in here and updating the content, the certificate updates itself as well too. So it's just another layer of, hey, me establishing my authorship and the ownership and the uniqueness of this particular content. So we have the DMCA certificate, we have the Score Detect certificate, and it's dirt cheap. I think it's like $10 a month for this service, and you get like 100 certificates a month.
Wow.
But it's definitely worth it. And then the last thing I'm doing within this news article schema in here for this particular article, I am putting in that link for the web archive. So I'm forcing the archive for all my articles into, I'm basically making it crawl it and archive it for me. And I'm using that archive because if Google is using that going to be using this URL in the future within the search results, I've seen great results doing this, and I was doing this before Google did it. I kind of read the tea leaves a little that they want to see that uniqueness, they want to see that timestamp, and these are three ways that I'm doing that. I'm using the archive link, I'm using the identifier for the DMCA link, and then I'm using the identifier for the Score Detect certificate. So just three different ways that I'm really kind of establishing ownership and uniqueness of my content, which is part of what plays into this helpful content update. I want to establish trust, establish authority, establish credibility, and just make sure Google sees me for who I am as this. I'm contributing valuable content. I'm making sure all my on-page is dialed in. And I'm giving them these off-page signals to kind of play into that as well, too. But this is part of what I was going to speak about at Legit Live. So you're all getting it live now.
Nice. And this is in the course. this you'll learn this in the course.
So this is one of the little blurbs in my course as well, too, with a lot of other stuff in there. But
wow.
So here's the great thing. And I don't want to, because I do want to talk, but I do want to plug Brian's course because I've had Brian on my podcast. Is the great thing about Brian's course is that he's always constantly updating this stuff in there, and you always have access to even the new stuff. So if you bought it 3 years ago, the stuff that he's doing today is going to be in the course. You still have access to. I mean, there are very few people that do,
and it's all Facebook. A lot on the course. I see everything on Facebook updated, right, Brian?
Yep. Yeah, it's all Facebook based. It's a private Facebook group with everything in there, all the guides and everything. All the videos are in there, so everything's you can sort by post, sort by the guides, sort by the content, and I'm keeping everything up to date. And the way I'm doing it, these are kind of evergreen concepts that you can use for anything, really. I mean, Joe, you and I use these for client stuff.
Yeah,
I use it for my personal stuff. We use this for affiliate stuff. I mean, it's really just. It's not really a how to do something. You can pick and choose, almost like Legos, kind of what makes sense for the project you're working on, and kind of plug in what you need for that. This strategy will work for this a little better, and I can use this strategy for this. So it's really just a series of different strategies and techniques that you can use for anything, whether you're doing client work, whether you're doing affiliate work. I started a lot of this stuff building out my own Google News approved sites and things like that. So I've just built upon it over the years from there, and I share it all in that group.
Yeah, you're the godfather of the Google News system from years ago. How do you decide what to share in a course, give away, or even you, Randy, speak at a conference, and what to hold close to the vest, and just use for your clients? You don't want to get too much stuff out there, because then other people start ruining it for us, right? So how do you decide what to share and what not to share?
That's a good question, I guess.
Don't
Well,
you ever, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I always share. So when I am like talking at conferences and such, I kind of share always the foundational and the mechanics of, and like at Legit Live, what I was sharing, I was talking about what to do with your links after the press release is out. So just some good concepts and things. What I don't share is exactly what we do
The
with
secret sauce. The
yeah.
secret sauce.
So
Don't give
I
that.
lay it all out there, but I'm like, well, I'll let you kind of play around with sequence and when you should do or where you should put what. But here are the elements that we use. So there's, but I do try to give a lot of good, helpful content.
Well, the conferences are more, private, that, I mean, there are large ones where it's not a course. So I could see you giving a little more info at one of these conferences, maybe, because people are paying a lot to get into these conferences. With the course, do you have any courses out, Randy?
I don't have a course.
Are you going to ever do one, or no interest?
Probably. Brian will probably say like, well, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm probably don't want to work that hard.
Yeah, Brian just scared you with his course.
Because back to I see what other people do and the great course. I'm like, oh man, that is a lot of work, and I don't know.
So for me, sharing, like in my courses, honestly, I put it all out there. Yeah, I really don't hold anything back.
You actually give the course more info in that than you give to me.
I do,
and I sit right next to you.
I'm like, Joe, just read through the course. You'll get it. Come on.
I actually signed up for your course under a fake persona, so I can learn.
We get the secrets.
But I hope I get a discount in the future.
But I'm also a big proponent of, I probably overshare in a lot of cases. I'm a big proponent of just kind of putting it out there, putting it out to the universe, and it comes back to me in spades. So I'm always helpful. I'm always sharing. If I'm speaking at a conference or something, doing a podcast or a show like this, sometimes, like Randy said, I'll share the foundational stuff, but I don't necessarily share all maybe the services or the products or the shortcuts that make it much easier for me to do it at scale, more so than anything else. I'll let people figure that out on their own, but I'll give them the foundational info.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you guys think the big question that keeps coming back every month, it seems, is SEO dead? It's like,
far from it.
I don't think so.
It changes, but it's far from dead.
Yeah. I think that as long as there is a search engine, SEO will be around. So it will change, and new stuff, new tactics, strategies. This will work, but yeah.
I've been calling it a zombie. Just kind of keeps coming back. I know people are freaking out with AI. They're like, oh, now it's going to be all AI search and it's going to change, but we're still working, right?
We're
still working.
Yeah. I will say though that I think in today's version of Google, I think is really horrible. When you can go online and do a search and see nonstop Reddit and Quora as responses, I'm like, really? Yeah.
Hey, that's why I teach in my course how to take advantage of Reddit.
Yes. Well, you should, right? As an SEO guy right now, we all should be like doing everything we can just to maximize, what the current landscape is. But to the user though, and I was just reading this article earlier this morning as well about like these massive affiliate sites like Forbes, right? And, you go do search and you don't see like real strong other independent sites, but you'll see Reddit and Quora, and then these massive affiliate sites like Forbes will like dominate then what's going on in the first page. And that I don't think that that's necessarily helpful content.
No, if you read like Glenn Alsop's like reviews and detailed, where he talks about how much of the content that you see is owned by a handful of huge media companies. And all the content they own. It's crazy.
And then some of the other content just spun. It just spun from those articles.
Yeah. The one interesting thing I saw about, just mentioning Forbes yesterday was how the kind of the SEO company that's behind the Forbes affiliate push is actually making so much money. They're in the midst of trying to buy out Forbes.
Well, that was the article that I was reading.
Right? It's crazy, right?
It was like, wow, that Forbes marketplace. That when you're and you see this stuff like what's the best, blah blah, and there's Forbes. That's probably a 30 million plus affiliate company right there annually, and that's probably being conservative in an estimate. And
I think they mentioned 9 figures already.
I mean, it is like crazy at the size of these behemoths that are out there dominating search. And so as a user, and I think as well, even just for other smaller businesses, the environment of search right now, I think, is just garbage. It's just a bad experience.
Baz wants to know how to deal with the mundaneness and detailer scrutiny requirements of SEO work. Brian, you want to go first?
On my end of things is really just having I just kind of have to have an agile strategy in place, something that I can, kind of make sense from client to client, something that's not kind of locked in, having some sort of strategy, some sort of, SOP in place, but having that ability to kind of adjust on the fly to whatever needs. And again, that's part of what I teach. Just pick and choose what makes sense for your particular use case that you need at that particular point in time. You just can't be rigid, can't be locked into anything. It's, you're always going to have to adjust, and every client is unique, and you just have to get used to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you mentioned SOPs, and so I don't like doing all that detailer stuff all the time. I always like new and like what's going on. But I recognize absolutely you have to have strong SOPs. And then I build a strong team, and they do all of the detail scrutiny. So I don't have to do it.
Got fired. Got Joe on my team.
Randy, do you ever get nervous when you're, or even Brian, training your team members and then they go off and do their own thing? Does that happen? Not saying anything, Brian. I'm not doing anything. I'm staying with you. Don't worry. MaxPlaces.com for life. But Randy, you teach your guys how to do it all. Did they ever say, hey, I'm going to do this by myself? Do you get worried about that?
I'm not actually. And I'm not worried about it. And I've never had it happen. And I think, I don't know. There's some of it is, there's some obstacles to entry, they kind of create. Some of it is brand that you create as well, and so it's for somebody to like, I'm going to go do this. And, it's a long road to hoe. And the other is, the folks, we invest a lot in their team and try to keep them happy. And, so, I mean, I've got folks that work for me that's been, since their very early days.
That's great.
So that are still part of my team. So,
yeah, I mean, I've noticed with my dad was an auto mechanic for decades, and he was one of the best mechanics in New York, and everyone wanted to come work for him. And I noticed every once in a while he would get like a good guy, and then after like a year, 2 years, boom, that guy opens his business. So my dad trained half of Long Island. How, all the shops you go, they're all from that tree. Like it's like NFL, the coaching tree. It's almost like a compliment to you're part of the Belichick tree. You're part of the this one, that one. But it's hard to find good help. Ask Brian.
I'm never going to be a hater. I've, to be honest, I've done it myself in the insurance industry. I've learned on other people. I've took what I can, and then eventually went out on my own. So, if someone's got that drive to do it, more power to them. As long as they.
I think I agree. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So.
There's a lot that goes into it too. I mean, everyone, it's funny because I'm in Craig Campbell's SEO mastermind with you, Randy, and everyone in there is kind of going on their own. And I think I'm one of the only people that went backwards. I had my own agency for 15 years and then I joined Brian, I joined maxplaces.com, and it was like the best decision ever. Well, besides getting married, having my kids, all that, Brian's been a good decision, and thankfully, we were friends watching the Mets suffering through the New York Mets for how long, Brian? Like 10 years, over 10 years.
We started dating online. We
started dating online on Twitter, on X. And then one day he's like, "Hey, Joe, you want to join?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have two little kids. Everyone, thinks I want to create my own business, my own brand, but some people are worker bees, and I enjoy, I'm still plugged in. I treat Max Places like it's my own business, and maxburst.com. And Brian is always, he always says, we work together. He makes you feel like part of the team. So I don't know if Randy do as well with your guys. It feels like a nice, perfect situation for me where, yes, I liked having my agency, but I was kind of the jack of all trades. That's why Brian brought me in, where I was doing logo design, web design, SEO, all these things. And as a business model, it took 15 years for me to realize it wasn't really working. I mean, I had good business, but I preferred to, I think, work for someone else. So I'm sure your team probably feels the same way, Randy. You have a good thing going.
I completely agree, because there's parts of running an agency that is like, this is not fun. This is a headache.
It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. So it's, it's not for everyone. But it's good to be part of a team.
Yeah.
What's the best way to submit my site to Google News? As I think the old method doesn't work anymore. I'm not aware of the new method now.
Oh, it's in the course. There's an updated video. So they did take away the manual approval process where you would submit your site and they would let you notify whether or not it was accepted. Now, theoretically, they can accept anyone. They scrape all the content out there and whatever makes sense as far as trending news and things like that. Theoretically, they could show anyone. But the Publisher Center is still open. You can actually still submit your website through there. You're just not going to get the manual notification that you were approved. So there is still a mechanism to actually make Google aware of it. As long as you're meeting all the requirements that you would have had to previously, you got a shot of showing up in Google News. I mean, I have, I think I've shared this with you, Joe. And I know I shared it on my group. I have like a 17-page document of all the requirements for Google News and Google Discover optimization. So there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes, but there is still a mechanism to allow to make yourself aware or make Google News aware of your website.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important. That was a good distinction, Brian, is that, Google did kind of announce now we're, not reviewing manually anymore or something. However, they made that announcement
that's all Brian's fault. His coaching tree, they all went out for 10 years and just spammed it.
So and it made you, when you're reading through it, it made you think like, well, now just Google is going to review sites on their own and going across the web. And you're like, yeah, we like that one. It's going to be a Google News site. But as Brian stated, you can still like raise your hand. Hey, would you look at me? Right? You're in the crowded room. Look at me, and call attention to yourself, which I think is a much, much better strategy than just kind of being in the crowd hoping you get picked.
Yeah, no doubt.
What do you think of Web 20 Ranker?
I haven't used them forever, so I can't give any.
I was going to say, in what sense? I haven't been on their site forever, so I don't know.
Yeah, no idea. I haven't been using it. Nope. What? So, guys, what SEO conferences are you speaking at next? What's coming up? Anything good?
Well, let's see. I know there's the Holly Starks has her Dark AI. I don't know if you're going to that, Brian.
Yep, might try to fit that one into the schedule.
Yeah, that's in October.
Brian's not bringing me. I could tell already.
And I think she still has a few seats open for that. I was talking with her over the weekend, and so you can go on to hollystarks.com. I'm not sure what her website is there. SEO Rockstars in November. I think Brian and I both are speaking at that. So
we'll be in Vegas.
We'll be in Vegas, which is
losing money at the tables and speaking at the conference during the day.
That's yeah. Be sure you vote, Brian, before you go. I just realized, like,
I know.
I'm going to have to do absentee voting. Dang.
Yeah, exactly. I realized the same thing. Yep, I'll have to send in my ballot ahead of time. But yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing SEO Rockstars November. We'll be in Vegas for that. Yeah. I know Steve Toth, his SEO in real life is coming up in a couple of weeks in Toronto. Just a one-day thing, which is worthwhile. And there's, I think he said there's not too many tickets left. So if you're interested in that, that's definitely a good one to look forward to coming up soon.
They never do any SEO conferences in New York.
I know, right? I guess it's so expensive for,
I know. I was going to say it's too expensive. And then I am going to Traffic and Conversion conference that is, I believe it's in March, the second week of March, back in Vegas. That'll be a big, huge conference.
How many conferences do you guys go to each year? Every month? Randy, I feel like every month you're somewhere. Brian, you're every couple months, right?
Yep, something like that. 4 or 5.
I probably only go to maybe like 5 to 6 a year. Like there's some that I always know I'm going to go. Generally, I always go to Rockstars. I always go to SEO Spring Training. Terry Samuels, and those two usually I always go to, and then I kind of fill in. Something looks interesting. I'm trying to expand and get it out to a few other conferences. That's why I'm going to. That's why I'm going to the Traffic and Conversions. There's a couple of YouTube specific conferences that I'm interested in that I'm going to add to my schedule next year.
Nice.
I'd love to do a lot of the overseas conferences, but just the travel involved is a little daunting sometimes.
I got to get my last one out of high school, and then I feel like then my wife and I can go and hit some of those overseas ones.
Yeah, I don't know about the China one. That's a long flight.
Yep.
That's a big one. That's coming up. Is that November? I think there's one in China.
Yeah, the Chiang Mai. Yeah. I don't know the exact dates, but it is in November.
Yeah, sometime in November, mid-November, maybe.
Yeah. But those overseas, so like then you've got, I think in October, William Jones has one. I can't remember the name of his conference, but that's kind of mid-October. Then you have Chiang Mai, and then Mad Singers has one kind of in springish sometime that's in Vietnam as well. That is quite nice.
Mads is a good guy. I met him in the Austin one with Brian, and he was going around the room, and I remember I was just standing there by myself, and no one's talking to me as usual, and he comes over. I was like, wow, what a nice guy. He's just asking me questions, and like this guy's so nice. And later I realized he's asking everyone questions. He's kind of like picking everyone's brain, but he's trying to get like a psych exam on you, kind of figure you out. And then he sat me down later. He's like, Joe, you're like this, you're like, and I'm like, how do you know all that about me? I was like, I answered like 3 questions, and he just did a profile. That guy's Freud. He's like the Freud.
Actually, him and I had a long talk about you. That's how I
know. Yeah, I was going to say. But it must be okay because he still works with you, though, Joe.
Yeah, right?
So
I was thinking about when I invited both. First, I was like, Randy, let's do a session, and I'm like, oh, Brian, you want to do a session? And after, when I saw both your faces on here, I'm like, I just invited the 2 guys that poke fun at me the most on Facebook. And I was like, this is a trap. It's a trap, But I got to say, you were really nice to me today, but maybe next session we'll just do like a roast show. Go all out. Everyone in the comments. We'll have more viewers.
Yeah, we should do a roast. That'll work.
That sounds like that would be a winning show, right?
PR SEO roast Joe.
Roast Joe.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. It's been an hour. I know you're both busy. I know Brian's busy, so he's already got some tasks lined up for me for today, tonight, weekend. Anything you want to last parting words for today's show? Promote.
Check out my course, check out my website, and meet me and Randy in Vegas in November.
Yeah,
by
the
pool. By the pool.
Yep, exactly. We'll be by the pool.
BrianWinum.com and thenewsguy.com.
Thenewsguy.com. Yep.
Very cool. All right, guys. Well, let's do this again.
Thanks,
and
Joe.
check out their courses, check out their sites. See ya. Bye, everybody.
You bet. Thanks, Joe.